Hey guys, this video is going to be about Vector compared to bitmap graphics. I will be using Scratch as an example, but most of what I talk about applies to many other graphic designer applications as well. So let me organize this a bit. First, I will talk about specific functions of each mode, and second, I will compare what each mode is good for, and some quirks and things that you should know about these two modes. And of course, what you can potentially make with them. Alright, so I have two graphics here. Both of the same thing, which is a player sprite in one of my games. The one on the left is made in Bitmap and the right in Vector. Now let's start what you can do in Bitmap. So first of all, here is a pretty simple drawing tool, which is pretty self-explanatory. It draws. The second tool here is the line tool, which is to create a straight line from when you click and when you release your cursor. Next, these two are basic shape tools. The left would draw a circular shape, and if you hold shift, you can make it a perfect circle. The rectangle here works in the same way. If you hold shift, it will make a perfect square, and if not, you can create any other rectangle you want. Next, the T stands for text, well, no surprises there, and again, very self-explanatory. You can change your font here, but the final text here always seems a bit blurry. That is because unlike Vector mode in Bitmap, graphics have to perfectly fit into the existing grid of pixels. But some parts and edges of the text doesn't actually fill an entire pixel. However, that cannot happen in bitmap mode, so the software finds a compromise where it fills the whole pixel but decreases the color saturation, or the lightness of the color, just to make it look a bit more faded and a bit more rounded out into the edges. This is a good strategy when you look at it from far away, but once you zoom in, you can definitely see the imperfections. Alright, we have three tools left. So, the bucket is for filling colors. You can adjust the color here and use this to select the color from the existing ones you have. The red dash will change the color to invisible or transparent, or in other words, it will delete the pixels that are connected and contained in the same color. Here is the eraser, and well, it erases, I guess. And last but not least, the selection tool allows you to select specific parts of the graphics and drag it around. Okay, now Vector. Now compared to Bitmap, Vector only has one extra tool here, as you can see. When you select this tool and select any shape in the vector layer, this will allow you to 1. Change the color and thickness of the border of the shapes, and 2. Add or delete points of the shape, and 3. Modify the angles to rounded or sharp and allows you to move it around. Alright, so what does this come down to? Well, Bitmap simulates more of a real drawing. You don't have layers or the ability to select individual ones, and the number of pixels are limited. Vector, on the other hand, is more complex, but has layers and allows you to easily modify them whenever you like, whether it's the colors, the thickness, or angles of the shape. Well, this makes it seem like that Vector is just better overall, right? Well, not necessarily. If you don't know, pixel art is a digital art style by drawing things with only small pixels. Pretty self-explanatory. This originated from the early days of gaming when devices such as Game Boy only had a limited amount of pixels on their displays. The displays that you are watching with right now is likely 1920 by 1080 or even more, which calculates to millions of pixels. But many early game consoles only had a few hundred to work with. Game developers had to do the best they can with the limited pixels they had, which created a new art style that can be easily seen with early games such as the old versions of Mario, Sonic, and Tetris. Despite the ever-advancing display technologies, pixel art still lives on, even in newer games such as Minecraft or Terraria. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where Bitmap shines. When you zoom in a bitmap layer and set the size of the tools to 4, you have an easy tool to draw pixel art with. Size 4, in my experience, is the easiest to work with because any larger it wouldn't be a square anymore, and any smaller would have a lot less flexibility. The limiting experience of a bitmap actually creates a huge advantage in this case with pixel art, which is something that you can never easily recreate with Vector, at least not on Scratch. So, Bitmap, although limiting and oversimplified and has bad text mechanisms, is extremely well made for pixel art and easy to learn. This will make it ideal for pixel games, art, or any just random doodles that are meant to be easy and quickly done. Vector, on the other hand, is a lot more flexible and can modify shapes and layers at any time, which is great for regular game development, animations, and a lot of other areas where the flexibility and the complexity is necessary. Now, if you find this video helpful, please take a second and consider liking the video or even subscribing. If you run into any questions or problems, please comment down below and I will do my best. Actually though, you definitely can do that. I'm a small YouTuber and I have nothing better to do in my life. Also, if you're bored, check out the storytime animation that I make. I can assure you that my attempts at humor are up to your standards. Most of the times. Anyways, bye!